I'll tell you a little bit about my own pain situation. I first began feeling the chronic pain in 2001, so it's about 13 years ago. I had had a history of back problems ever since I had children during the 70s. And at this particular time, I was sitting too long in one place on a bench with no back, and my back started to hurt me when I finally did get up. I went to the chiropractor, who had always adjusted me beforehand, and this time it didn't ever seem to feel better. I was then going on a trip to Toronto, and the day before my trip, I went back to the chiropractor and I said, something still isn't right. Can you give me another adjustment? He adjusted me, didn't work. He adjusted me again, and I felt a very sharp pain, which I never had before. And then that seemed to subside. The next morning, I got on the airplane, and when I went to get off, I had a terrible pain in my right hip that never went away. So that changed my life forever, that experience. Like most pain patients, I just wanted the pain to go away. Somebody take it away. And so first I tried all the alternate therapies because I thought I just needed a fix of some sort. I went to physio, I went to massage, I went to a different chiropractor, I went to acupuncture, I had intramuscular stimulation, I went for osteopathy, and nothing took it away. I finally went to my doctor about it, and she gave me the common medications for pain at that time, and she put me on Tylenol 3, and it didn't help me. Gabapentin, Lyrica. My head was affected terribly. I felt I was on some other planet before I ever had any pain relief whatsoever, and I didn't get pain relief from medication. She referred me to orthopedic specialists, one of whom told me to tighten up my core muscles and I'd be fine, and dismissed me. She also referred me to the spine clinic, and that was a very long wait. I wasn't a candidate for any kind of surgery. I didn't have a diagnosis really, but they did an MRI and said that I had spinal stenosis, scoliosis, osteoarthritis, but no one knew which or combination was causing the pain. My activity level had been really, I had been a very active person. I had been a teacher, leader. I ended up taking early retirement, and I found, as probably most pain patients would tell you, that the more I moved, the more I hurt. So I became less mobile, and I started walking with a cane. I changed my lifestyle to a very sedentary one, and had a huge feelings of loss. The path back to function is not the yellow brick road, and I still would say that I'm returning to function. I wouldn't put it in the past tense. It isn't a clear path. There's lots of bumps that have happened on the way and hairpin turns, but I have learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about pain, and I've never given up. I returned to function, and I began to move from this, feeling very good that I had found things that worked for me and I could sit and knit all day, to this. Except I'd probably say towards this, because I haven't arrived there either. It's an ongoing, ever-changing journey. And I've learned so many things along the way that have helped me. Most of the things that help me are now in Pain BC's toolbox, which you can find online at painbc.ca. But at the time, for myself, there was no Pain BC, there was no toolbox, and I was totally unaware of any resources, help, information. Most of the things I discovered on my own, And I'm happy to say that they now are in that toolbox. Helpful to me was having a family doctor who took me seriously. She did give me all those medication trials. She did refer me. She's been there all along. She has not known all the answers, but I know that she's trying, and I know that she's on my side. She's also open to my ideas, things that now I have done lots of research on, discoveries for myself. Not all patients are as lucky as I am. That's so many that I hear are not believed. Doctors think they're trying to abuse drugs, those kind of things. I heard of one person who cuts himself so that his doctor will see him in pain. For me, one of the most helpful things was writing. It was the first big step to express my losses. And I went up to Queen Elizabeth Park one day and sat there with my journal, my empty journal, and wrote down everything I can no longer do. And I made the list long and longer. It just kept going for all the things that I had lost. But I'm the kind of person who, when I finished making that list, I turned to the next page and thought, okay, what can I do then? And I started to make a list of things I can do. I picked a lot of things that were sedentary, I must say, and I'm ashamed to say that increasing mobility was not on my list at that time. I wrote dialogues with the pain, asking why me, and the pain answered me. I got a lot of insights that way. I wrote my pain story. I wrote affirmations to myself, and anybody that knows me knows my main affirmation is that my well-being in life does not depend upon being pain-free. I gained a lot of awareness, expressed my grief, and began to heal. In 2006, I happened to go to the public library for a book talk on mindfulness meditation. I wasn't thinking of it in terms of pain at all. I learned the sitting how-tos, and I also learned the teachings behind the mindfulness meditation, which I found to be very practical, very reflective and useful in my life. One of the main things I learned was the big sky view, and which I applied to pain, of seeing the sky, the pain as the clouds rolling by in the sky, and not forgetting that there was a sky still there, there was sunshine, there were birds, and that there was more to my life than these clouds that came and went and sometimes stayed for very long periods of time. That led to a lot of changes in my point of view. I became a much calmer person. My attitude changed towards pain. My expectations changed towards pain. I think anything unrealistic became more realistic, and I was able to start accepting things as they were. That was huge in my life, and that has carried over into all areas of my life. I see any problems in that same way. They're one part, and they're not everything. But when I was in terrible pain, of course, everything looked grim. I saw the connections between cognitive-based therapy and these Eastern thoughts, and I had taken a class in cognitive-based therapy way before I ever had chronic pain, but it all fit together for me. I started doing a lot of body scanning and breathing. At first, I learned them through John Kabat-Zinn's CDs, and later from Neil Pearson's CDs and Neil. I learned that calming my breath reduced my pain experience. And through the body scanning, I suddenly became aware that I had a good side, my left side, and I felt great gratitude for the parts of my body that were supporting the other part. I became more compassionate to myself, to the pain, to my body. And one of the most useful things in breathing for me was breathing into the pain, and then when I breathed out, I imagined that I was breathing out the pain, and it would go right down my leg and out my foot, and that felt good. I found MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, which actually were the CDs that I had been using, and then I found that there was a class in that online. I found it online and went to an 8-week program. Basically, I think I felt it was an introduction to meditation, mindfulness, breath, and body. And I felt reduction in pain while I was practicing those things. I think many people get scared by meditation and think it's too woo-woo as a first step in managing pain. But I know the support groups that I'm leading now, we've introduced that very gradually. And there's webinars online on the Pain BC website to do with MBSR as well. I read a lot I wanted to learn everything I could about my own condition, and I started with John Kabat-Zinn's Full Catastrophe Living and branched out to many other books to do with chronic pain. I learned a wide variety of ways to deal with chronic pain, and of course now, though all of those things are on the toolbox and many more that are much more current than what I originally read. These are things that, as doctors, you could recommend to your patients because I at least found that material really interesting and helpful to me. I'm particularly interested by all the brain studies and neuroplasticity, changing pain, all of that. I was referred by my doctor to the St. Paul's 8-week self-management program, and that was probably around 2009, so I'd already been 9 years without any medical pain relief in that way. For me, the most valuable thing was the occupational therapy section that I learned I could do more by altering my position or pacing or placing things differently. The social, emotional, relationship, loss, fear, all those things I already was managing quite well on my own. The hardest part, of course, for me was the physical component. And of course, now there are many more self-management programs available. I did a lot of research myself, and one of the first things I found was Diane Gromala at SFU studying virtual reality in chronic pain. I volunteered immediately as a participant. I was invited to a patient meeting. I was in a grad student's movie short. I was totally fascinated with how the brain can be tricked or soothed or make good and bad decisions that can be altered. I found the chronic pain self-management program, the UVIC program, who were looking for volunteers, and I signed up for training and to co-lead classes. These helped me by helping other people and reinforcing my own self-management skills. 10 years into my journey, I learned about Pain BC, which had started in 2008, but this was about 2010 or 11. I learned about Pain BC in the toolbox, where everything now was in one resource, one place to look, and I thought this was absolutely amazing, so helpful for pain patients. And my co-leader and I passed on that information to the support groups we were leading. People in Pain Network I've started leading groups for them, which I still do, giving patients more time for support, connections, helping each other, partnering with healthcare professionals. This is something that has taken me a really long time to try to help myself, and my doctor has helped me a lot, and we're sort of getting to a place of feeling that I'm partnering with my healthcare professionals and that they are partnering together. Acceptance, I think I had this very early on, and it's mentioned in Pain BC's toolkit and toolbox. And I think I learned to accept too well because I stayed quite sedentary even though I was going to exercise classes, but that was my exercise, and I was not improving my own daily movement. I had a list solidly, can do, can't do, and I thought, yeah, I've got it all figured out. And then along came Neil Pearson. I attended one of his retreats, and he has been excellent, and all the things that are listed up there, the things that he does, his resources are excellent, speaking engagements, all of it. He said, find your baseline and push a bit, and I had a lot of trouble finding that baseline. It seemed different for standing, walking, any of my activities, and they changed all the time. At a retreat I was at, his retreat, I learned a lot more information about pain, the nervous system, endorphins. I did some gentle yoga, and then, this is why the sword is there, he said, stand still for 30 seconds, raising one knee, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't lift my knee and hold it. I couldn't hold my balance, and I was in agonizing pain. So it was a bit of a kick in the pants for me, but it was a wake-up call because I had forgotten that although I was moving, I wasn't moving forward. My path still continues. Sometimes it goes a little bit backwards, and then I try again. I still am working on mainly physical function, and I'm focused now more on walking and strengthening my back and my core. I work hard with my physio on those things. On an ongoing basis, I've needed and valued my friends, my family, things that give me pleasure, and I know that those help me to social connections. I still like to knit, and these are my grandchildren up here who give me orders for evil purple minions, and my 16-year-old granddaughter for long thigh-high lace stockings that I don't know why I'm doing that for her, but I do. I see myself as a whole person, not broken, functioning in the world. And as my grandson puts it, a couple of years back, I was hobbling with my cane, not keeping up to him. And when we got home, he said, you know, you're not very much like a grandmother. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you're so lifelike. My path has been my own, and other people's are different than mine. We all experience pain differently, treatments differently, ways to help ourselves differently. We start at different places and use different tools, and sometimes when pain overtakes, we may forget what helps altogether. Many resources are available right now. I'm sort of flogging Pain BC and the toolbox as an excellent start for returning to function, and that's something that you can spread the word about. Your patients will be really grateful to you for giving them a place to turn and a place of hope. Every step I've taken, I feel, has been a returning to function. I haven't arrived, I may never, I'm still on the path, and I'm asking that you as doctors be on the path with your patients and help them find the directions and things that work, the tools that work for them. Help them to feel, like my grandson says, more lifelike. Thank you.